Hello, welcome to Dissident Canada. My name is Tyler. Today I am going to talk about yet again the breakdown in trade negotiations between Canada and the United States. Completely predictable. And before I go any further, do not trust what politicians of any variety are saying publicly. They are completely untrustworthy and will not tell the whole truth, even though in this case, Trump is the most honest politician there is. It doesn't mean he's telling the truth, especially when he's negotiating. So, late Friday, the Trump administration, well, Trump specifically through his truth poster guy, because he doesn't do it himself, announced that negotiations had broken down and that trade talks will cease for the time being. Claiming it's because of a digital service tax that was, if I'm getting this right, was passed into legislation last year with the Trudeau administration, but is like actually starting to come online because there's such a long delayed effect in Canada's governance structure with the passage of bills and implementation. Is it a stupid tax? Yes. Is this the likely reason that negotiations broke down? No. There is another thing in the truth post itself. It's again mentioning the dairy tariffs and specifically the supply management that has to do with dairy. I also don't think that is the reason that negotiations broke down. I think that is another big ask that Trump wants. I think what is going on and what will continue to go on is that Trump will find any excuse in the book that he can to break off negotiations, to force the Canadian side to capitulate to whatever demand he wants. He is very known for this. He has the upper hand in the negotiations, mostly because I don't think the Canadian team will play it the way they should, but I'll get into that. I really do think this in part has to do with China. I think China is a massive sticking point with Trump. We can continually see that with how he negotiates and treats China in general with the actual threat that they pose to the world. Like, this isn't something new. Everybody kind of knows this. But I think he's trying to get more, and I think he will get more. Like, especially with Bill C5. I think this is part of it with Bill C5's Bella. Yes, thank you. Thank you. With Bill C5 passing, granting, Carney and his administration the ability to fast track. Bella, come here. Fast track and just ram through national infrastructure projects of varying sizes or projects that are good for the national good. I think Trump is going to seize upon that and force, I think, at least one pipeline, possibly two or more. Oil pipeline, natural gas pipeline is the most likely scenario. Also, I would assume an American company or two, given mineral rights and like good, reasonable deals for them to extract natural resources. And also, probably, there will most likely be a deal about lumber, because that is also a sticking point, because the American lumber industry suffers because of the Canadian underhanded tactics of massive subsidies and so on and so forth, with specifically softwood lumber. And I think also Trump is a little bit pissed that he kind of got played at NATO. NATO said, "Yeah, sure, fine, we'll up our defense spending to 5% of GDP." And in that deal, Canada said, "Oh, well, I talked about this. We're going to have part of our 5% is going to be minerals, and of course we're going to have to count infrastructure projects to export these minerals to European nations." I think Trump's pissed about that specific part, that his deal didn't get signed first, because remember the leak months ago. Now, whether or not it's true, I think Trump was actually trying to get it, was the right of first refusal for the United States when it comes to Canadian resources. I think it would be better if we had that in place with America. It's, again, I'd rather be tied at the hip to America than Europe any day of the week. Even if America is the sinking ship, they will be the last survivors when it comes to sinking ships. And like being tied to America and expanding trade with America really does do a huge benefit to Canada when the dollar milkshake starts to really, really play out at the end game of that, the end game of the euro dollar system. We're going to need dollars, and the more trade we have with the United States, the better we will survive that, and the longer it gives us to find an alternative solution to the euro dollar system. But, I could be wrong here, but like with Trump having the backing of his base, even if it is lessened after the Iranian attacks, and his public image and America's public image is damaged worldwide a little bit, I still think he has the upper hand, and he's going to push as far as he freaking can to get as good of a deal. Because Canada really, really has been, for years, being very screwing America over is the best way to say it. So, but if I was the Canadian team, okay, I would look at the way Donald Trump is acting and continually make public appeal. Like I would negotiate this in the court of public opinion. All right, it will carry some favor with you. And is it going to work 100% on on Trump? No, but it could energize other countries with their negotiations too, and you can build like a coalition type force to get a better negotiating deal with the United States. Because like if you just bring up the fact that Trump has now been involved in 2 attacks within 2 weeks of each other that happened on the eve of negotiations. Like obviously he can't be trusted in good faith to negotiate properly, and you can make the comparisons with this trade negotiation. He doesn't have we're not at war, but we come to the table in good faith. We're working, we're trying to make progress. We're balancing the needs of the United States versus our citizens who we represent, and we are we're trying to the best we can in the timeline that Trump has given us. And he gets angry at every little thing, and like a little kid, he takes his ball when he doesn't get his way and goes home. Like there's only so much negotiation we can do with that. Like I would broadcast that message as much as possible to the wider public, because it can help. Like if you don't think public pressure campaigns don't work, well, I got something to tell you. They kind of do, as you can see with the Overton window slowly shifting in a more moderate direction. I won't say to the right, because that would then imply that like it's shifting towards conservatism. It's not. It's shifting towards the center. We'll see how far it goes. But example would be like the last 2 years with Pride season. It is very much, if you compare that to 2023, very much reduced year over year. So, and that is public pressure because it got too much and the public responded negatively. You have to back stuff off that way. So, I think though the Carney team won't do that because while they are not complete idiots, they just don't understand to a high degree how to handle international diplomacy or diplomacy in general. Like, Carney's a banker, all right? And really an investment banker at Goldman Sachs turned central banker. So his understanding of the mechanics of finance are, in fact, in doubt. The underlying mechanics, which are extremely important because central bankers don't know a fucking thing about that shit. Um, but he's done some good things, as I've said in my previous video about the NATO stuff. Like, it was a smart move to get Bill C-5 passed. It allows you to keep the current laws on the book, but you can subvert them in a roundabout way, which allows you to cater to the separatist movement, pacify them with the bare minimum, and you can continue to push your green agenda at the same time. You can say you are, but not really, and because at best leftists in Canada are mostly midwits, you can do some real interesting things. Like, you can completely lie to them, but because they're plugged into the propaganda, they'll believe whatever you say. So the tariffs are going to continue for the time being, or wherever they're at. Trump will come back to the deal, come back to the table with the better deal for himself. It will also likely be better for Canadians. Like, breaking the supply management BS, all right, puts Bella, Belly, come here. There, you gonna no. Sorry, she is very excitable in her almost 15 years of age. Anyways, like, Trump is gonna go after supply management probably because it's really good for the agricultural industry, the small farmers that really helped him win 2016 and 2024. Jesus. And he's kind of screwed them over with what's her name? Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins, is it? She's basically a big ag whore. Is it she or he? I don't remember. Whoever the Secretary of Ag is, they're just a big ag whore. So if he can do this, he can mitigate that damage. So I think he's going to continue to press forward in that direction. And again, good for Canadians because supply management is basically a cartel that has monopolized the price of dairy goods. Well, specifically dairy goods, but there's other things that also have to do with supply management. The price of beef. It's why, what was it? Jesus, I think it was a week ago. Found a nice. Oh Jesus, what cut was it? I don't think it was a roast. I think it was a flank or whatever. It was a big piece of beef, and it was a hell of a deal. Like, it was like $20 or $40. I can't remember the exact. And it was significantly cheaper than Canadian beef because it was Australian. Like, if we didn't have these supply management stupid rules, Canadian beef would come down, dairy prices would come down. Like, generally, most prices would come down, remember that story from earlier in the year of a man being, I think he was convicted. I don't think he was just arrested and fined. I think he was actually convicted of, selling the excess eggs from his chickens because he didn't go through, I think it was Alberta's supply management program. Like, come on. Like, it's going to be better for all Canadians. Short term pain, long term problems. Like, Trump is going to have a hard time continually going on with this because it is doing damage to the auto sector. The auto sector's already heavily got problems on its own. But as the auto sector gets worse, Trump is going to be under increasing pressure to, you know, ram through a deal. And like his constituents in Michigan, um, Pennsylvania, Ohio really, really need that stuff. I think there's some still. No, Detroit is in Michigan. What am I thinking? Um, like he's already lost Dearborn, Michigan because of what happened in Iran, what he did in Iran, what he ordered in Iran. He can't lose that much more. So he's going, if he's got someone in there telling him what's at stake, um, he's going to come to a deal sooner than later. And yes, the auto sector is going to continue to decline. We continue to get more and more information objectively that we are in a deflationary, recessionary environment. Big way of saying basically you can think of where we are is in the lead up to 2008. I initially thought this year would be more like 2008 because I thought you would get a faster pile-on effect. But that continues to be slowing down. I don't know when it will happen. I'm fairly certain it will happen in Trump's presidency when the United States will recognize saying, shit, yeah, the economy's kind of fucked. But we'll have to really see when that happens. Is it Trump's fault? No. Is it the tariffs' fault? No. This is global macro conditions that have been growing in the background for like, I don't know, at least 2020. But if you can say, well, really it's been growing for like 50 years, 50, 60 years. And it's just going to keep happening. What is happening in the background? But it's not going to be that bad. A deal will be made again if you discount government spending as a part of GDP. All right, that leaves approximately, and when I say government, I mean all levels of government. You end up with roughly half of Canada's GDP left. That is the real economy, the goods and service producing economy. A quarter of that, or no, half of that, a quarter of actual GDP, half of real, is all about trade with the United States. It's roughly 600 and something billion. So, like, a deal will be made, and it will benefit the United States. Ella, can you stop barking at Ollie running around? No? Okay. Sorry about that again. Again, she gets testier and testier as she ages. Don't blame her. Just I get testier and testier as I age too. And no, I'm not going to edit her out because that would be stupid. No, I will forever have my dog, Bella, barking as a record. Because I really am too lazy to A, edit, and B, I think it's more authentic. And it doesn't matter. Anyways, tomorrow is Canada Day. Happy Canada Day in advance. I am going to do Canada Day special. Wednesday, I'm going to do what I was originally going to do for today, which is talking about Civil War conditions in the United States and in the West at general. So take a look out for that. And I have no idea what else I am going to do for the rest of the week. But if something you want talked about, leave a comment. Until then, have a great day. If you're Canadian, have a nice Canada Day. I know it's a stupid fucking how it fell this week or this year, I should say, of hey, Monday you have to work, Tuesday you get off, and then it's a normal day. Like, why can't we just give us a 4-day weekend? Like, I would have made the executive decision to make a 4-day weekend. Just because it's easier for people to deal with. Anyways, have a great day. See you tomorrow talking about Canada. And Wednesday talking about Civil War conditions. Because why not? Why not?